will, because I am a firm believer. I don't know if it's the millennial in me, but trying to develop a fresh company culture to inspire the rest of the employees to really maximize, one, convert those C to B and B to A employees, but to maximize that return on investment that you effectively are enacting for everyone you hire, right?
Good stuff. Good stuff. Okay, Adam, we appreciate all your time, and Thane and David and Matt have a great show, and we're out. Three Wise
All
Guys.
right.
You
Our
guys.
pleasure.
Thanks, David.
Oh, you, Matt.
You're welcome.
Take care. Thanks again.
All right, here we go. And we're live. How the hell is everybody doing today? Welcome aboard. My name is Matt, sometimes the Grass Factor Martin, and for the next 2 hours, I'm going to be your host. We're going to have one of those days where, hey, we just free will it. I was going over a bunch of things I thought I wanted to talk about, but I just never was 100% certain, like, oh, yeah, is that for sure what we got to do? Nah, that's not for sure what we got to do. I was like, oh, what about that? What is that going to be for sure what we got to do? And I was like, I don't know. Truth be told, too, today is officially, even though we celebrated it last weekend, today is officially my son's birthday. Happy 8th birthday to Noah Martin. I love the hell out of you, son. Always a good time. Freaks me out. Still not mentally all there with being a dad. You would think after 8 years you kind of have your mind wrapped around it, but nah, you don't. Whole new sets of challenges on, going on with everything too, because of course, it's homeschooling this year, and all the other craziness that's going on. I guess. Did I word that correctly? I don't know. So I figured today what we were going to do is talk about some more. I've still got more emails coming in from people with questions, and so I thought we'd kind of go through these and kind of have an extended version of Not So Doc's brain, but at least we're going to pick somebody's brain. We'll probably pick mine, and that's okay. That's okay. There's a little bit that goes on in here besides just clinking cans. But I have to say, for the most part, at this point in my life, the majority of what you hear inside of my brain is clicking noises, random beeps. It would be like an out of sync. It would be like playing individual tracks from an EDM song off rhythm and off pitch, I think is more of what's happening in here. But all in a day's work. For those of you that work out in the real world, I don't know how you do it. Every day I sit in front of my computer, I have a whole host of updates to install, and it is just the dangest thing I've ever seen. Every day, oh, you got an update available. Oh, you got another driver update available. Oh, you got this available. Oh, you got that available. Like, do I really have all that available? How is this possible? I don't think it's any real secret. I use Discord a lot. I have a private Discord, of course, active at the Lawn Forum Discord. By the way, check out those guys, thelawnforum.com. And if you're interested in this Discord, you can go to thelawndiscord.com. That'll take you to the Lawn Forum Discord. And but I'm telling you, sometimes two times a day, I'm installing Discord updates. I'm like, are there really that many code changes that need to take place, or are these code changes taking place? What is going on here? I don't know what's going on. I don't know where this wannabe hard music that's soft is coming from. Sounds a little bit silly, but what do you do? What do you do? All right, kill the music. Kill the music. I'm over it. So yeah, like I said, I think kind of today we'll see how far we can go with it. Going to kind of go through some of these questions I still got pending in the deal here. Of course, Lushy sent me some stuff, and he said he's got a customer who's absolutely sweating him to get out, hurry up and get out and do something with the lawn. And he sent me pictures of the lawn and said, feel free to use this. And so taking a look at it now, the lawn is so drought stressed. I wouldn't feel comfortable really doing much to this. I guess you can go out here and try to plug this, Aaron. And this is no lie. I used to here in Knoxville. It's kind of weird, we're a city that averages over 40 inches of rain a year, which is a lot of rain, right? 40, and it's like 45, maybe even 48 inches a year, something like that. That's a significant amount of rain. That's nothing to snarf at by any stretch of the imagination. Kind of the next piece of that is. Our dry month is usually very dry, and that is the month of September, which is also seed time, right? So what you end up running into, the situation you end up running into is you're out there trying to plug lawns that are 4, 5, 6 weeks without water, and it's difficult for anybody that's ever tried to core aerate a lawn that's 4, 5, 6 weeks without rain. That can be real difficult, and you've got to put some real weight on the back of your machine in order to be able to pull a core there. If you have a traditional aerator, obviously, even if you have a reciprocating tine aerator, it's still going to be difficult. By the way, look, Kathleen's Lawn and Shrub and Pest Control, representing Augusta, Georgia. What's going on, Kathleen's? One of my favorite logos there with the unmistakable, unforgettable ladybug. That's always I remember working in Augusta, Kathleen's. I was at Fairway Lawns there, and I would see your trucks out all the time, depending on, I don't know, wherever I was. I would just see it from time to time. So anyway, it's always good to see you out there. I actually lived up in Martinez, I guess, yeah, and it's funny because people not from there are like, oh yeah, Martinez, which is what I originally thought it was, and then I was thoroughly stunned to find out it was actually not Martinez, it's actually Martinez. I kind of lived over off of the pass on Winchester Trail, if you know where that is. That's back where I was, over in there. Used to raise hell, man. Go get crab at golly, what's the name of that bar or restaurant where they have? I guess it's on like Friday or Saturday or Sunday. It's like $10 a pound for crab. Used to go over there and just absolutely annihilate some crab. Man, that was the best part of Augusta right there. You go get crab, drink you a few Steve Weisers, and enjoy the rest of the day. It was good stuff. But, it's all these weird things. It's kind of like here in Knoxville, we have that town called Maryville. but it's spelled out Maryville, right? And I think there's actually in other parts of the United States, they have an actual Maryville part of town. Reinhardt's, that was it. Man, I miss Reinhardt's. Reinhardt's was my jam. I mean, we used to go up there, and my wife and I did. We had my son at the time, and boy, we would go tear it up. I'm telling you, that was one of our favorite things to do. So there we go. There we go. Okay, so we'll kind of go ahead and get started here. We'll get going asking some questions. And Chad said, Chad, we had talked about potentially using potassium nitrate, and you're right. Nitrate formulations are hard to get because they go big boom. Nitrates go big boom. So a lot of times they're difficult to source, and it depends. Or sometimes you may even have to have a license to go source them, and so it adds a layer of complexity to go with that. So. And now you're asking about Lesco's SOP. Yeah, that's totally fine. You can use sulfate of potash, and you would apply it at the same rate, the same amount of active material as you apply nitrogen. Because remember, it's the nitrogen that's going to dictate the uptake of potash. If you're not applying nitrogen, you're not really taking up any potash. So if you're applying 1 pound of nitrogen, also apply 1 pound of potassium SOP. And you would want to do that as close together as possible. So, or you can go out and apply 1 pound of potassium from your 0050, 1 pound of actual potassium. I'm not saying 1 pound per thousand of your 0050. I'm saying 1 pound of actual potassium, and then follow that up right in behind it, same day, same time, of 1 pound of actual nitrogen per 1,000 square feet. You see how that's a 1-to-1? Or you can go get a 10-0-10, or you can get a 20-0-20, or you can get a 15-0-15, whatever the case may be, as long as it's 1 unit of potassium for every 1 unit of nitrogen, and apply it that way. So if you have them as individual products, you would still do it the exact same way at the exact same time. For every 1 unit of nitrogen you apply, you're applying 1 unit of potassium. Here's another one. 1,000 square foot section of lawn between the driveway and the neighbors. Common Bermuda with nimblewheel mixed in. What's the best way to kill the nimblewheel? If it's common Bermuda, one of the things I used to do was double dog it with a little bit of 3-way, like 3/4 of an ounce, 1/2 ounce of 3-way, combined with Monument. For me, that always worked. And I normally did that when it was hot outside. So right now that we're in September, I'd say we're a little bit on the cooler side of things, and that may not exactly line up 1-to-1. One of the things you can also go with, I believe Tenacity is labeled for nimblewheel. But again, remember there, you're going to have 3 applications. That's going to be a long period of time of having white Bermuda grass. So I probably would not recommend that. So we're kind of back to the sulfonyl urea piece. I would probably do something like Monument, or a product like Tribute Total, or a combination of Celsius and Revolver. More than likely we'll get all of that cleaned up. Would be kind of my deal. Seti Mac is in the house. How are you, good sir? Let's see here. What is this? I did spraying Trinaxpac ethyl, 1/4 ounce per 1,000 square feet. Said he did 1 ounce per 1,000. So now I'm rethinking the Blue Heat Reno with Bermuda. I don't know if I would go a full ounce. That would be 43 ounces per 1,000 square feet. So I personally, I wouldn't do that. I think you're safe where you are at 0.25. I'd leave it at that and not get too excited there. I kind of let that run out on its own. Here's another one. Propiconazole, phosphites, mesotrione for a bare seed renovation. Does that need to be sprayed before or after emergence? Also, will those products play nice in the same tank? I'd have no idea if those will play nice in the same tank. I will tell you right now, typically phosphites have to be applied solitarily, because phosphites are very reactive. Boy, let me tell you, you can make phosphites fall out of solution really, really, really easy. Really easy. So I would be extremely careful and jar test that. No, Ray, I was in a rush to do this, and I did not mean to pick the Doc's brain. So that was my fault. I hit the wrong button when I was launching this live. I'll actually fix that because I kind of screwed up there. That was my bad. I shouldn't be using Ray's title in the middle of these things. That is trademark material. You can't pick the Doc's brain if you ain't picking the Doc's brain. Real quick, let me take a break. When we come back, we'll kind of squirrel on through here and see what we can uncover today. In the meantime, I want you to understand that you are listening to Turfs Up Radio. This is your industry. This is your station. Music.
Hands down and dirty. Turfs Up Radio.
Turfs Up Radio.
Turfs Up Radio. Turfs Up Radio. Turfs Up Radio. Turfs Up.
Turfs Up Radio. Your industry, your station.
Hey, Turfs Up Radio fans. Do you know what time it is? That's right. It's time for Turfs Up Radio. Now you can catch us streaming live 24/7 with pro talk, pro tips, and pro interviews. Simply visit turfsupradio.com. Hey, Green Industry pros, Turfs Up Radio is celebrating what a great first year we had and wants to give you $100 just for being involved. That's right. All you have to do is visit turfsupradio.com/shout out for 100 and follow a few easy steps. When you hear your name live on the radio, we're going to send you a crisp $100 bill. So be sure to visit turfsupradio.com/shout out for 100 to claim your cash. And remember, Turfs Up Radio, your industry, your station.
Hey everybody, it's Brooke Ford, host of The Green Veteran here on Turfs Up Radio. Be sure to check me out every Saturday morning at 11 a.m. Eastern. You're going to hear some great one-on-one interviews with green industry professionals. We're going to talk about best business practices, highlight innovative products, and also provide some insight into some new emerging technologies in the field. That's The Green Veteran, airing each Saturday at 11 a.m. Eastern. And remember, Turfs Up Radio, your industry, your station.
I like that. That was good tunes today. Good tunes. So let's see here. What did I have come in? This is a director of research and technology. Actually, I don't think that was what I'm supposed to be reading on there, although I would like to. Kind of some interesting information there going on. This is the thing. I'm always looking for, I don't know. I've reached this point in my life where I just don't care. I don't care anymore about obstacles. And for whatever reason, my aversion to risk right now is relatively low. I don't want to make stupid mistakes and I don't want to make stupid financial mistakes, but I kind of get I get excited when I'm told no, you can't do something. No, that's not possible. You know, I want to find solutions for it. So in the background, boy, interesting hot takes going on there. But we'll disregard that and move back on to where we were going. So let me see. Oh, wait, that's the wrong email address. That's why I was seeing all that there. Okay, so Matt Sayre said, do you recommend Quinclorac or anything now before the winter hits? I live in Wisconsin, and the summer's been brutal with crabgrass up here. Well, here's the thing. If you're in Wisconsin, you probably have a frost coming on pretty soon. And because you have a frost coming on, frosts are going to take care of annual grasses like crabgrass. So is it necessary to go out and blanket spray a bunch of yards with Quinclorac right now with a frost imminent? I know we're experiencing some cooler temperatures than normal. I mean, it was like 58 degrees here the other day, maybe even lower than that. I think it may have been like 53. It may have been 48. I don't know. It was cold. I remember that because I was in my house and I was like, boy, this is chillier than normal. You know, my wife is a little tiny 5'2" Japanese lady, and she likes it somewhere between 78 and 983 degrees Fahrenheit in the house. So when it's all of a sudden 66 or 64 inside the house, boy, it gets your attention. I go from existing in this state of perpetual sweat to all of a sudden being in this state of excited and chilly-nilly and comfortable. And I'm not used to being all that comfortable in my own home with old Shaky Bones over there wearing out the heater and the lack of air conditioner. So I would say, I'm just guessing. Here's what I'll do right now. I'm going to pull up Weather Underground. I like Weather Underground. If you don't like Weather Underground, I apologize. It's at least one of my favorites right now. I'm just going to type in Wisconsin. What is a town in Wisconsin? Actually, you know what? This is a very important work phone call I have to take real quick, so I'm throwing on some music, and we'll be right back.
can't let you do this. I don't know if I'm ever gonna be the same. Oh boy, there's gotta be more to this. Just tell me that I'll hold you in my arms again. Giving up on love, on love. We're giving up on love. We're giving up on love, our love. We're giving up on love. You and me will never make it through if we go on this way. And I can see all that's to do is fix our own mistakes. I can't let you do this. I don't know if I'm ever gonna be the same. Oh boy, there's gotta be more to this. Just tell me that I'll hold you in my arms again. Giving up on love, on love. We're giving up on love. We're giving up on love, our love. We're giving up on love.
You're listening to Turf's Up Radio, your industry, your station. Real quick, let me take a break, and when I come back, I'll kind of kick things over. Sorry for the long delay there. I had to. It's one of those things. You gotta get it done. All right, real quick, taking a break, and come back. We're hammering this bad boy on. Ow!
Hey everybody, this is Hecubus from the Nightcap. I'm just sitting here relaxing within the vault with my friends and a tasty, tasty pint. You should stop by and listen in sometime. I'm here every Monday through Friday, 8 to 10 p.m. Eastern, live only on Turf's Up Radio. Your industry, your station.
Every Wednesday night.
Uh-oh, guess what day it is?
Hump Night with The Duck. 7 Pacific, 10 Eastern. Only on Turf's Up Radio.
Hump day?
We have to put up with this?
The Rock! The hot place!
You're not the top.
Did I say something wrong?
The Duck. On Turf's Up Radio. Turf's Up Radio. Your industry, your station.
Are you a military family with a spouse on deployment away from home? Did you know that nonprofit Project Evergreen has thousands of volunteers across the country ready to help military families with lawn, landscape, and snow removal services? We call it Green Care and Snow Care for troops. If you are a military family and would like to receive this free service, or if you'd like to volunteer to help, visit projectevergreen.org. Project Evergreen, creating a greener, healthier, cooler Earth, 1 yard at a time.
Never felt this way before.
All right, we are back. Okay, so kind of a couple things here. I was trying to get caught up on over here. Somebody said 16 days into Kentucky bluegrass, there's some spots that look bare, but have a few plants. Should I overseed or just ride it out and let it spread? I would probably just ride it out and let it spread. If it were me, that would be just kind of my take on it, because so much of what I see ends up having to do with overseeding in an attempt to get things to fill in as thickly as possible on the front end. Here's the thing. You have to leave a little bit of space for plant maturation. You know, if you've got 1 inch, 2 inches between plants, that's fine. A plant, even if it's one seed, one plant, you're talking about Kentucky bluegrass there, that's going to mature and take up a bit of area. Even if you're talking about fescue is going to move into a 3-4 inch plant. So if you got 2 inch spacing between seeds there, you're going to be good. You are going to be good. So that's why it's a totally, in my opinion, a silly thing to go in and make sure that you are exactly seed to seed as far as germination is concerned. Because it's going to end up causing a problem later. When people start talking about disease and moving into disease season next year, remember, airflow is going to be a positive thing. That's why if you've ever looked at one of the things they use on golf greens, especially when they're growing bent grass, is they use these massive fans. And what they've noticed by using these massive fans is that it actually cuts down on their fungicide pressure. Because you've got some air movement taking place there. You're drying off that dew that forms, and not just holding so much humidity within that canopy, albeit a very tight canopy, but holding all that humidity there. You're getting it all moving. So it would be kind of the same thing even when you're dealing with 3 inch tall grass. Keeping airflow there is just going to be a huge long-term benefit for you. So personally, I would just let it ride and let it fill in however it's going to fill in. Then the other thing, too, is I ran up on an annual max of tenacity trying to get rid of grassy weeds. Could I switch to topramazone? You can. I don't know what turf type you're dealing with there or what specific weeds you're going after. So it's just kind of a general blanket random statement. Yeah, you could. But that's nowhere near enough information for me to say, yeah, 100% without a doubt, that's for sure what you should be doing. In certain instances, I may be like, well, I don't know. We probably need to go to Flazopop or Phenoxyprop or whatever the case may be. But yes, because it is the same mode of action. The other thing, too, is that I would be looking to diversify the number of mode of actions I'm applying. So I would make sure I'm choosing other complementary active ingredients to go along with that topramazone, in my opinion. And this is kind of one that it's incredibly difficult to answer, but is why is the MLSN philosophy and the spreadsheet Pace Turf puts out not more widely promoted in YouTube or social media world? I can't answer that. And it's just not really my place to say. But in terms of agronomy, that is foundational agronomy that cannot be argued with. The most rudimentary beginning of turfgrass science, of turfgrass management, begins and ends from a fertility standpoint with that sheet. So as a general rule of thumb, anything really outside of that is a bunch of noise until that is put into place. Once that piece is in place, then that's when you can start to trick out, quote unquote, trick out what you're doing. But you have to have that foundational piece before you can start to trick out what you're actually doing. And I think part of this, too, is why you don't see it on the YouTube or social media piece is that the majority of what you're seeing are people on their own journey of learning in their own yard. So they're out there and like, well, I don't know. I'm going to apply this week and just see what happens. And I think some of that gets blurred because people all of a sudden, after their yard looks good, they then assume the role of teacher because people start asking them, oh, how did you get there? And so they develop this idea that, well, okay, I got here by applying this and this, so that's what you should do too. Now, on the converse, there's going to be other people that put significant amounts of time into figuring out each and every piece of how it got there scientifically, why that makes sense. And then they'll put that out as like, okay, so I did a significant amount of research, and this is what I found out. I talked to people at Iowa State University and put this together. And so this is why in here, hyper locally in this area, or, people with this particular type of turf type, this would be a good fit for you. So, and you have to understand, too, even on the MLSN things are slightly changing, and we're starting to see more of that begin to be discussed. And case in point, Sports Turf King, Ryan DeMay. By the way, if you want to see more of him, you can go check out Ryan Knorr's podcast, where they actually go pretty deep into some of these subjects. And Ryan was talking to me about how Texas A&M is specifically measuring organic matter and then taking that organic matter and how much potential nitrogen release is going to come from your organic matter in your soil and counting that towards your soil test for the potential nitrogen requirements of your plants on a given year. So even that MLSN or spreadsheet from Pace Turf can be expanded upon, but as a general rule of thumb, is a foundational piece for anything that's turf science related. That is the foundational piece. And anything outside of that is truly just a bunch of noise. Let's see. 42% glyphosate. Should I seed in early October in Central Virginia? Yeah, you can. And it depends on how many glyphosate applications you want to make. If you want to make 5 glyphosate applications, then you probably don't have that amount of time. If you just want to make a single application, well, you can spray and seed the same day. I built a career doing it. It's very easy to do. Let me see here. No, I was definitely not Lushy. That is not who I was talking to. I had it was a much different conversation that had to get all fired up on. Somebody said here, most liquid aeration products are essentially surfactants. If so, do they work the same way Hydrotain does? Because those products are way cheaper than Hydrotain. No, totally different. So Hydrotain is more about moisture retention. Surfactants are moisture infiltration. So actually moving water into the soil. Hydrotain is actually about absorbing and holding on to water. So totally different thing there. I would never qualify a surfactant as a way of holding water. It's a way to move water, not hold it. Because when you're talking about holding on to water, you're literally absorbing it and giving it a medium to absorb into and hang on to, or in the case of Hydrotain, even be able to pull atmospheric moisture and hold on to that. But when you're talking about a surfactant, you're talking about cutting down the surface tension of water. It has nothing to do with slowing the evaporative rate of water or whatever the case may be. That would be even then you're talking about more of a humectant than you are a surfactant. So, in that particular instance, just a surfactant, when you think surfactant, you're thinking movement or distribution. Even if you took a surfactant treated water and you dropped it on a leaf, it is going to disperse across the surface of the leaf. Versus if you are just straight water and you dropped it on it, of course, it's going to form a bead and bead up on the leaf, right? So kind of the same thing with the soil that has not been treated with a surfactant or water amended with a surfactant, and you drop it on it, you may see the soil actually repel the absorption of that water. It'll sit as a bead on the surface. Versus if it has been treated with a surfactant, then it will actually infiltrate into the soil. So not anywhere close to the same thing. Let's see. I hit my TIF 419 with the 1/4 ounce of T-Nex on Sunday and scalped the 419 down to 4/10 of an inch to prep for seeding perennial ryegrass. Should I avoid starter fertilizer to the rye to avoid giving the 419 any more energy? No, I would go ahead and apply a starter fertilizer. Can you recommend something to put on a slope for a bare dirt reno? It depends on the grade of the slope. I know some people get out there and they use those stickers like you use when you hydroseed. Literally, there are binders that you put that add a certain amount of tackifiers, is the technical term. They add tackifier to their tanks, and some people actually get out there and spray it on hillsides and stuff. I personally have never done that. I think Grass Daddy did it one time, and someone in the Discord, I think Gilly did it one time too. And I come from more of the area of stormwater remediation, and in those particular scenarios, we're using very heavy-duty geotextile reinforcement mattings. And where literally when we're digging ditches and trenches and stuff, we're putting down these very, very thick coconut fiber woven textiles to reinforce that root system into the soil itself. So a totally different type of deal there. And the only time that you would really need something like that is if you're dealing with very high volumes of water, right? Where even if you do have a root system in place, it can still erode the area in and around. So, good. Just kind of an idea there. Somebody said Ryan has a Kentucky bluegrass seed where he used a mat that worked out well for him. Yeah, I would check that out because I do not know. On more of a home lawn type scenario. Took soil tests in my parents' lawn and sodium is very high, which is understandable living on a highway in Ohio. Would gypsum do the trick to lower? Lawn is all kinds of yellow tint all year. Yeah, so that is one of those times where gypsum used to displace sodium would be a good idea. The other things I would check for is soil pH and all that, of course, too. But as a general rule of thumb, yes, that would be a good one. Another would be good there, too, would be a soil surfactant to try and flush out the sodium out of the soil surface as well, too. That would be a good trick. So, but yeah, as I think that's a great idea that you've got right there, and that is a very legitimate way to use gypsum. So kudos to you, Mr. Schroeder. Overseeded and put down heavier on bare spots. When should I mow to ensure seedlings don't get sucked up by the mower? When it needs to be cut. So I would wait till it gets to a certain height where it would actually be cut by the mower and then cut it. If it's not ready yet, don't do it. If the grass surrounding it needs to be cut, but that area isn't, wait until you get a little bit of germination and then go over it. Just make sure you just don't sit on it. As soon as it's germinated and is up probably an inch or so, the mower isn't going to suck it up. So maybe wait, give it a little bit of time before you absolutely have to mow across it too. Just put down 32 pounds per thousand of calcitic lime a week ago. I plan on seeding in a 2-week interval. Would you push the seeding back further so that lime doesn't inhibit phosphorus uptake? Lime doesn't inhibit phosphorus uptake, but lime will precipitate phosphorus and render it temporarily unavailable until the plant can, till the exudates from the root system break apart that calcium phosphate particle to allow for uptake. So it's not that lime inhibits phosphorus uptake, but it's going to put it into a form that is not favorable for uptake to the plant. So should you, you're at 2 weeks. What's more important to me is that you hit it within the window of, you hit it within your temperature window. So if October 1st looks like you have good temperatures for it, I would go ahead and get it done, because October 1st versus October 15th, that can be the difference between a successful seed job and an unsuccessful seed job. So I would do it more based off temperature than I would worry about the lime at this point of the seed season. So I believe I did almost a yearly max rate of prodiamine in one application. Should I be concerned about the turf? And can you explain the reasoning behind the yearly max? Is it mostly for E and V season? What? I don't know what E and V is for. E and V reason. What is E and V? Is it mostly for E and V reason? The yearly max has to do with the balance between where you're actually starting to cause harm to the plant over a given period of time, right? So after a certain point, you're going to hit critical threshold where applying a maximum rate of a pre-emerge is going to give you a maximum level of control and a maximum duration of control. What happens as you start exceeding that is you're going to start causing phytotoxic issues to the plant without getting any other benefit as far as weed prevention out of the product. So you're literally running. Is it mostly for an environmental reason? No, it's not. It's mainly for phytotoxic reasons and health of the plant reasons. It's kind of the same thing if you look at like a post-emergent weed control with 2,4-D. You start exceeding your 2,4-D rate. Now there is a yearly maximum on 2,4-D, and 2,4-D is going to be rendered inert before you apply, and that moves into the environmental reason. But as far as a single-use max rate in that particular scenario, a lot of that has to do with phytotoxic effects. So it's probably a piece of it can also be an environmental reason, but for the most part, especially something as long-lasting as prodiamine is, it has more to do with phytotoxicity, collateral damage. After a certain point, after a certain rate, you're going to start causing damage to turf because you are inhibiting cell division within the root system of your desirable turfgrass species. And the other one here is, what do you recommend for gray leaf spot in the lawn? This is great. If you ever have an idea, one of the things you can type in is gray leaf spot NC State. NC State has done a great job of putting together these turf files that give you control options for individual diseases. So what I would recommend is hopping over to the Google and typing in gray leaf spot NC State, and you'll see exactly which products are going to offer you the greatest amount of potential control. Some good ones here is oxystrobin and propiconazole is labeled for residential lawn care. Thiophanate methyl is going to do a good job. Armada is going to do a good job. So, kind of gives you some different options here. Mancozeb does a good job, but that's not labeled for residential lawns, so there you go. Are the typical lawn chemicals safe to use in an area where the water source is artesian wells, assuming the soil will filter it before it gets to the water table? As far as I know, if there's any kind of restriction on that, it will be listed on the label. And it depends on how high your water table is, too. So there's kind of a judgment call that you have to employ, that if you know of a certain area that is always standing water because the water table is so shallow, you have to make that judgment call as an applicator whether or not to do that. And so part of that is putting the effort into studying and learning the lay of the land where you particularly are. Now, I grew up in Memphis, and in Memphis, you again, kind of one of those areas, with lots of clean water and aquifers and all that fun stuff. But the way we were taught, through education and through outreach and through pesticide training classes and continuing education credits is that typically that's going to be deep enough subsurface that there's not a chance in hell, remote hell, unless you drill the hole deep enough to reach it and then literally poured concentrated herbicide in there. You're asking it to move, depending on the depth of it, to move a significant amount of area to reach that. And a lot of times that is just not possible. And because also too, when you start exposing it to organic matter and then the biology and the soil, it's nearly impossible to keep it alive to allow it to move that deep, and to keep it from becoming rendered inert. Does mixing small amounts of Kentucky bluegrass and tall fescue make the Kentucky bluegrass more heat tolerant, or will it go dormant just as quick? It will have zero impact on the heat tolerance of Kentucky bluegrass adding tall fescue. Kentucky bluegrass has a genetic limit. That's it. You are going to reach a genetic limit of that plant. And once you cross that genetic limit, it doesn't matter what you surround it with. You have exceeded the genetic limit. In this case, we'll say temperature, right? Once you cross that threshold of genetic temperature, you're donezo. That's it. That's it. That's all you get. Giuseppe said, I've heard propiconazole will help seedlings. Can you confirm 1 ounce per 1,000? I don't know what that rate is. There is some anecdotal data out there, maybe a study or two that says it. We were actually talking about it on Sunday. Somebody was asking about it, and as far as I know, yes. You have to remember there are some, the DMI class of fungicides are growth regulatory in effect, and so you're kind of sacrificing one process there for another, right? To suspending a bit of energy that would normally go towards foliar growth to allow to make it towards root development. So is it worth it to do it? Is it worth the dollar to do that? I can't make that choice. But I'll say this, I've never had a problem with seedlings to the point where I felt like I need a competitive edge on my seedlings. So, it's one of those things. If you had a tight deadline on L93 bentgrass because you had to be playable before the end of the growing season, maybe in a scenario like that, or going with propiconazole, or I think the better one, the big one that's supposed to be great for it is Xteris. I could be wrong on that. But it's another one of those fungicides, and I think it's Xteris. Then that may all of a sudden fit into your budget because you've got, investors you have to appease and all this kind of fun stuff. But in your scenario, in my opinion, that I think it's silly. And it's nothing personal, and I'm not saying it's a dumb idea by any means. I'm just saying I think it's silly. I think it's over the top. I think it's a bit of wishful thinking to think that it's going to give you some kind of big benefit that you're not already getting out of just applying appropriate fertility and making sure you have adequate seed to soil contact. That is really where you get your biggest return on investment. Anything outside of that is where you're trying to literally pull a rabbit out of the hat or a miracle in a very, very tight situation. I'll give you an example. Like that was always where I used Hydrotains when I'm trying to pull a rabbit out of my ass. And so I would get into these scenarios where I have to seed a 1 acre property or a 2 acre property or a 10 acre property, no lie. And when you're in these types of scenarios, you don't always have control of the water. You may not even have irrigation there at all. And so you start trying to figure out, how am I going to be able to get this to work correctly, or what's going to give me my best chance to work, what's going to give me my best chance to make this work in my favor. And a lot of times that was actually where I reached for Hydrotain, because really the most important part of seed establishment is water. That is really it. It is water. So if I could get my competitive edge because I don't have access to irrigation to get these areas grown in, then Hydrotain was my rabbit I'm pulling out of my rear end to try and make it happen. And I have to say, I had such great success with Hydrotain. That was always what I reached to. Now, the difference being there is, how much of a difference is it going to make if you have your water right? How much more are you really going to gain? How much more are you really going to gain by also putting down a propiconazole as part of your seed establishment program? You may visually see a difference if you did a controlled check plot, but is it going to be the difference between you feeling good about the money spent or not feeling good about the money spent? And in person, that is a personal decision you have to make. I can't make that for you. But in my experience, I can tell you, it would probably not give me that kind of bang for buck, where all of a sudden I've invested another $40, $50, $60, $100 on a property for 3-4 days of faster establishment. Is it worth an additional $100 for 3 to 4 days? That's the way I look at it, and you may not be in that same position, so you may look at it differently. So again, it just kind of falls back to IPM. I pay materials. Thank you, Ray. Here, I tested my soil around spring in February, north of Seattle. I made a lot of inputs this year and overseeding 2 weeks ago. I'm planning to first squirt with some 900 next week. A couple weeks later, 1801, and then finish the year with Carbon X. When should I soil test next? 45 days after your last fertilizer application. So just gauging by what you applied, you're high in phosphorus and potassium, and the only thing you need to apply is nitrogen. That's kind of my guess, because that's really the only thing you're applying is nitrogen in that scenario. There's nothing really there to benefit the seed other than the nitrogen piece of it. So that would be my assumption. So I would give it 45 days after your last application. Go ahead, test it again, see where you need to lie moving into next year. Let's see. You mentioned dethatching being overused and it being more of an issue with fertilization and watering practices. What about an area in the Pacific Northwest? Daniel, unnecessary, sir. What about in an area like the Pacific Northwest where spring and fall are constant rain? So when I talk about water and thatch accumulation, I'm not talking about too much water contributing to thatch accumulation. What's interesting is that really one of the best ways to get rid of thatch is make sure you have adequate soil moisture and adequate temperature. Now, where you have this long area of having super saturated soils and moderate temperatures, that's not necessarily going to be favorable for growth, conducive. It's not going to be very conducive for extreme amounts of growth. If anything, you're going to be put into anaerobic situations and where you'll tend to get kind of growth retardation out of it, where it just you don't have the gas exchange, you don't have the space in the soil, and so you kind of just get this stagnant kind of growth. Is that going to contribute to thatch? Probably not. Probably not. Now, if you're getting consistent rain, but you're just not getting the temperatures where you have adequate soil moisture, not excessive soil moisture, and you have moderate temperatures where you have this long 100% growth potential from February all the way through November, you're at literally 100% growth potential, and that's where I would encourage you to go check out the Pace Turf climate appraisal form. Plug in your information there and see what your growth potential is across those months. And if you're at 100%, could the potential for thatch become an issue there? Yes. But, and then chances are, this is kind of the other piece of it, is that with the main ones you needed to worry about were some of the St. Augustine varieties, some Zoysia varieties, and the older Kentucky bluegrass cultivars. If you're not playing with those anymore, then really you don't need to worry about it. So much of that can be overcome with appropriate fertility. All right, real quick, I got to take a break, and then when we come back, we'll continue on. Boy, we kind of got some hot sauce fire going right here. I mean, it is just, wow. High speed. Man, I was looking for what soundtrack I was gonna go out with, but it was a little bit difficult. Here, I'm gonna do this. We'll go world music with a little mariachi going into this break. You're listening to Turf's Up Radio, your industry, your station.
Hey everybody, this is Hecubus from the Nightcap. I'm just sitting here relaxing within the vault with my friends and a tasty, tasty pint. You should stop by and listen in sometime. I'm here every Monday through Friday, 8 to 10 p.m. Eastern, live only on Turf's Up Radio. Your industry, your station.
Every Wednesday
tonight.
Oh, guess what day?
Yes!
Hump Night with the Duck. 7 Pacific, 10 Eastern. Only on Turf's Up Radio.
Hump day?
We have to put up with this? The Rock! The hot place!
You're not the top.
Did I say something wrong?
The Duck. On Turf's Up Radio. Turf's Up Radio. Your industry, your station.
Hey, landscape pros, are you tired of digging through rocks and roots and breaking shovels in the process? Then it's time you checked out the GeoRipper 616. It's a landscaper's dream with the Makita 6 Series 2-cycle engine producing over 4 horsepower of raw performance. The 616 digs deep in up to 16 inches of the toughest soils. Lighting, landscape, and irrigation contractors already love this improved lightweight trencher with its ability to get in and get out faster, easier, and with less ground disturbance. And you will too. This redesigned GeoRipper 616 comes with 2 heavy-duty digging chains and a whole mess of helpful extras. To learn more about the GeoRipper and how it can help you out in the field, visit georipper.com today.
I was looking to see if they had any Te Extraño on the on my playlist here, but they did not. This is Azteca X with En Mi Corazón. All right. We are back. Woo, boy, man, wow. I tell you what, we were kind of burning through that so quick. My youngest daughter, Savannah, said you should come visit me for my birthday. Daniel, is today her birthday? Wait, is it visit her for her birthday or visit you, Daniel, for your birthday? Is today your birthday? Yeah, I should come visit. Is today your birthday? Because today's my son's birthday. I knew we were related. I knew it. Birth brothers. That's how we're related. Birth brothers. Getting it done one day at a time. Man, I tell you what, we were flying through that so quick. I hit such a bizarre rhythm there. It actually made me start sweating. It definitely did. And I tell you what, I had a question coming in. I was just going to copy and paste my response here to this person. That way I kind of have an idea of that. And this was going to be around the 21 mark. There we go. Here we go. Right here. This is one of those fun ones. I had tons of POA. I did 2 apps of tenacity at 5 ounces rate. Did not overseed and then put down dimension. Bare spots all over. What's a plan of action to thicken up? Perennial ryegrass cut at 5/8 of an inch. Puget Sound region. Where is the Puget Sound? I don't know. And unfortunately, I have a lot of... Oh, boy, what's up with everybody in the Pacific Northwest today? My goodness. I got a lot of people in here up there just... Boy, burning it down. All right, here's the first thing. Number 1 is tenacity will burn the tops off of POA. It ain't going to kill it, even 2 apps at 5 ounces. So you may look dead. You may even see it disappear where all the top growth has gone away, but it ain't systemic knocking out POA for Dunzo. And if you look on the label, you'll even see that on the label. It offers suppression, meaning it's going to knock it back, but it does not control it. So the problem is that you did that until it disappeared, and then you put down dithiopyr on top of it. And because you put down dithiopyr on top of it, now chances are you're going to struggle to get those bare spots to fill in. Because perennial ryegrass is a bunch-type grass. It's not going to move outwardly, rhizomatically, or stoloniferously like some of your other grass types. Well, in this particular instance, we'd be talking about either bentgrass or Kentucky bluegrass, right? But unfortunately, the situation you're in right now is that you can try and seed and pray it comes up kind of deal. You know, perennial ryegrass has a lot of energy in that seed. I have used perennial ryegrass to get something up in an area that had been treated with a dinitroalanine before with moderate success. It's difficult. It's doable with a little bit of time, patience, and magic on your in your pocket. But really, the only way you're going to be able to get that to thicken up is more than likely to seed into it. Seed into it. And outside of that, you're kind of at a loss. You can try fertilizing it, and it'll grow, and it might try and hide at least visually from the road the bare spots that you have going there, and that's kind of might be of assistance for you. It might help at least in the temporary short term, but outside of that, it's not going to be that much of a lasting change, rather than actually coming in and physically introducing new seed into the area. January, using prodiamine, I still have some. I'm wondering if I can split up soon for my fall preem. If I do this, what can you recommend I use next spring? So you can, here's the thing. You really don't have a whole lot of choices. Spectacle would be something you could choose if you wanted to rotate away from that. You could try a post-emergent only program if you wanted to transition away from that. For the most part, what most people are going to do is do a fall application of prodiamine and then a spring application of prodiamine, and that's just how they're going to handle it. In the spring, if you are putting down prodiamine and you want to trick it up, you can put down isoxaben with it and spray out your broadleaf weeds that you're currently dealing with. So you can do an application like prodiamine in the spring, in a single tank mix, prodiamine, speed zone, and isoxaben all in one application, and that's going to be a good way to incorporate isoxaben into your program. The other thing you can do is that if you're going to do a split pre-application in the fall, you can do an application of prodiamine and then followed by an application of like prodiamine, isoxaben, and speed zone in the fall. And that would be a great way to get that down and help you out with those overwintering broadleaf weeds. One, you're doing a blanket application of a broadleaf weed control to eliminate all of them, and you're putting down a broadleaf specific, a dicot specific pre-emergent to keep them from coming back so quickly after you make your post-emergent application. So you have to remember the timing of it is still the same, where you're still timing it based on your germination windows for the weeds you're going to be controlling, right? So you have to think about when are these germination windows, typically for your winter annuals that you're dealing with early in the spring. So we're talking about our henbit and our hairy bittercress and our chickweed. Those are going to be those are going to germinate in the previous fall. So like right now, those are coming up. Can you replace Speed Zone with Celsius? Yes, you can. One thing to keep in mind is that Celsius is going to be slower in cold weather, but it can be mostly, for the most part, effective on broadleaf weeds. So yes, you can make that switch there. Do I need to wait until... Now, back to that question where we were dealing with the POA that we applied the tenacity to, that we then followed up with dithiopyr, and now we're worried about the bare spots that we have. The question is do I have to wait until spring to overseed? Yes and no. You can try it now. I can't guarantee the grass is going to come up. You cannot guarantee the grass is going to come up. So it'd be one of those things. You have to make the decision at that point. Do I want to try and potentially waste trying to seed now, or do I just wait until the spring where I know the pre-emergent has had an opportunity to be rendered no longer effective in the soil, and then do my seed work? So you have to make that determination. It's just understand it's going to be, there is a higher probability of failure if you do seed now. It's not to say it can't be effective. It's just there's greater risk. And it varies case by case. It's a difficult judgment call. This is one of my favorite questions. When is too late to apply a pre-emergent? November, December? Here's the reality of the situation. It's never too late to apply. As long as you're above freezing, you can go ahead and apply it. But the thing you have to remember is that if it's already germinated, if what you're trying to control has already germinated, you should apply the post-emergent weed control in combination with that pre-emergent that you're using that pre-emergent to prevent. So we'll say you're spraying a Bermuda lawn and you're applying a pre-emergent in November, December, whatever the case may be, and your major concern is POA annua. Well, then you want to apply something like Monument, trifloxysulfuron, Forum sulfuron to post-emergently control that POA at the same time you're applying your pre-emergent. Because by December, by November, it's already germinated. You may not see it yet, but it's already up. And so you can apply a pre-emergent, and it's going to stop new plants from coming up, but the ones that are already there, it's not going to do anything for. So if you want to go ahead and not have to deal with it the next spring, that's the whole premise behind putting down a pre-emergent. You got to put down a post-emergent because it's already up. It won't be till next spring till you see it, but it's already up. So you need to go ahead and control it post-emergently while you're putting down your pre-emergent. Remember, pre-emergents are going to help with things returning so quickly. That's the name of the game there, is that after germination, you're inhibiting cell division with the dinitroalanines. The roots do not develop, thus cannot take the nutrients required for the survival of the plant, and you get plant failure, right? But if it's already there and you're applying a pre-emergent, you're not doing anything to kill it. That would be considered a post-emergent if it's already there. So if you want to capitalize on the benefits of a pre-emergent late into the season, you have to also apply a post-emergent in combination with your pre-emergent. Boy, what is going on between the Northeast and the Pacific Northwest right now? This is bananas. Y'all are crazy. Pre-emerge for spurge and pavers. I would use, goodness gracious, what is it? SureGuard. SureGuard is what I would use in that situation. SureGuard is flumioxazin and is going to offer post-emergent and residual control. So it will control post-emergently and it will keep things from coming back for a long period of time. If you want additional knockdown power out of it, tank mix it with glyphosate and make a blanket application of glyphosate and SureGuard, and that will be your best chance, best opportunity, best defense for getting it and doing it and keeping it gone. How about them apples? Bananas. Bananas. Whew. Yeah, lots of POA battles, and I think so much of what people are concerned with right now is that they know POA is coming up, and they're concerned, what do I do with it? And I'll tell you, with the weather we're having right now, at least where I am in the Southeast, if POA's up, like, that's it. I mean, what is my temperature outside right now? I'll tell you exactly what it is. It is 67 degrees. Guess what? POA is up. We had a little bit of rain come through today. We got a little bit of rain coming through tonight. We got more rain tomorrow with a high of 63 degrees. POA annua is here. Your pre-emergent should have been down weeks ago. So if you haven't got it down, now would be the time to start incorporating that post-emergent weed control. And if you're dealing with cool season grass and you've already got your seed down and your seed's up, this would be a great time that you could go ahead and apply something like ethofumicate, because ethofumicate is going to have some post-emergent control in tall fescue, in Kentucky bluegrass. Everybody always reminds me, do not apply ethofumicate to fine fescue. So as long as you don't have fine fescue, you can use ethofumicate, and it will offer post-emergent weed control and pre-emergent weed control for your POA annua. Remember, not effective on POA trivialis. You have no options for POA trivialis, but for POA annua, you are A-OK. And what about Anu? Anu is not a post-emergent weed control. What you're doing with Anu is suppressing the growth to the point that the competing grass around it can outperform it, but you're not actually killing it. You're just hiding it temporarily. There are some phytotoxic effects that will cause it to shrink in size and generally look yellow and ugly and like it's dying, but it is not a post-emergent weed control. It's not going to physically kill those plants. You're just putting your desirable turf species into a greater competitive advantage. This is a good one here. This is always kind of fun to talk about. Can you give a brief rundown of license regulations for applicators in TN? In Tennessee, what are the requirements to get your license and charter? So in order to get, and so there's the way this works in Tennessee is that you kind of have three separate pieces you have to go after. Number one is you have to get your Category 3 pesticide applicator certification. And the certification is probably the hardest piece of the whole thing. And you take your test and demonstrate that you know your laws. You can do some minor identification, whether that be through identification of bugs or identification of weeds. You have to demonstrate that you can read and interpret a label correctly. You have to demonstrate that you know the difference between danger and warning, and the differences between the FIFRA and EPA and all these fun stuff. So there's that piece of it. There's that piece of it that you have to do. Then, after you have been a certified applicator for 2 years, this is assuming you do not have a 4-year degree as in a related field like turfgrass management. After you've had your certification for 2 years, then you can apply to take your license exam. And your license exam is basically your certification exam, but with a bit more detail and a whole another piece of more in-depth identification involved. So you still have to take your core, and that core is going to be your laws, labels, regulations, all that fun stuff. But then you also have to take a more in detail identification, where you're looking at the differences between the types and grubs and chafers and all this fun stuff, right? So then you take that, you pass that, and then once you pass that, you can start your paperwork to apply for your charter. And then when you're applying for your charter, you have to have a certain amount of insurance, right, for like an umbrella and accidents. And that can be a little bit squirrely because the industry is considered high risk. So it's a little bit of a different there. And then you have to get a bond. You have to be bonded in order to maintain your charter. And let me tell you, if you let your bond lapse, the Department of Agriculture will come knock on your door and tell you, I need to know how many lawns you've been spraying since you let your bond lapse because you applied to those lawns illegally. So let's see what lawns you treated between this date and this date because you let your bond lapse. And you will get in trouble. So you do not do those things. So once you have all of those places, then they will issue a charter, and then you can have a FERT and squirt business or have a business that offers FERT and squirt. So that would be the caveat. Those are the steps you have to do if you are applying chemicals on someone's lawn who is not your own. It used to be the way they used to structure this was if it had to be billable, right? That as long as you were charging to do this, that you was the only reason you had to be a licensed applicator. But they've gone back and changed that because so many people were saying, no, I'm not billing for this. I mow the yard and this just helps me with my mowing. So I just include it. I'm not actually charging to do this. I charge to mow the yard, but this I just do totally on the side to make my life easier as a lawnmower. And so they went back and amended that and made some changes there, corrected some verbiage, so that way you couldn't be skirting around that little deal there. Well, let's say, did you get my email about a soil test? I don't know. I got you, sir. I got you right here. What do I need to do to get this person's pH down, and what fertilizer can I use to help him out overall? I just did a renovation on his lawn, killed it with Roundup. I added a starter fertilizer with your soil amendment to his lawn. What can his lawn use in the future to get his levels right? Let's see here. So we are extremely low in... I'm going to take this down kind of one by one. You have a phosphorus level of 7 parts per million. that is critically deficient. So I would continue to apply another round of starter fertilizer, at least one more round of starter fertilizer. This lawn does not need any lime at all. 0 lime. You have a pH of 7.2. I would definitely not be applying any lime. You're very high in calcium, very high in magnesium. This is one of those ones where you want to pull cores, and I would even want to collect those cores. I would definitely want to collect those cores if at all possible, because this is going to be some hard-ass ground. Some hard ground. Outside of that, one of the good ones here that you could actually apply that would work relatively well for you would be a 1-1-1. Something like triple 13 right here would be a great fit, especially if you had a triple 13 that included ammonium sulfate, monoammonium phosphate, and sulfate of potash. That would be a good fit for what you're doing, but chances are you're not going to find that. But I would, so as kind of a general recommendation, another thing you could do that would work for you is to continue to apply an 18-24-12. That would be a good fit because you are so critically deficient in phosphorus. So there you go. What's up, Sean? What are your thoughts, strategies on, etc., on fall nitrogen blitz? I get it. I think it's way excessive. Typically in the fall, after seeding, 2 pounds in my experience, has been adequate, at least for where I am right now. So where I live and where everywhere I've worked, but I would not. Where am I? It's just in my opinion, I think it's just silly to go that heavy. 2 pounds in is a fair amount. That's a pretty decent amount to go with in the fall. Now, if you want to scale that back, where every week you're applying, 1/10 of a pound in over 20 weeks or whatever the case may be, and whatever comes out to 2 pounds, and do it that way, yeah, you can. But typically, I could do the same thing in 2 applications and be thrilled with the results. So from a professional standpoint, maintain my reputation and give the level of service and the expectation to my customers of them expecting to have the best lawns in the neighborhood. I could deliver that in 2 applications rather than having to abide by the fall nitrogen blitz. Now, where you are, that may be different. I don't know. Let's see here. Thoughts on different methods of soil test. My soil uses an ion exchange method, and then MLSN uses Mehlich 3. Pros and cons to each. Yeah, the pros and cons to each are like an ion exchange method is all cons. There's no pro to it. So I would not be. I would never use that. I would always use, for the most part, I'm going to use a Mehlich 3. Because it's kind of become the industry standard, ion exchange. The problem is, and Ray's talked about this a lot on the show before, about how when you package that up in water and you're sending it off, and it may sit in water for a little bit amount of time, you're putting it into anaerobic conditions, and it can cause just funky, odd things to happen. So in my opinion and in my experience, there's nothing really valid about that test. Is it okay? Does it give you a general rule of thumb? Probably. But is that the type of test I would ever use in a real life scenario? No. Matt, is it true that hard ground is how they... Yes, Sean. Yes. What if you have a degree? Does that speed up the process back to licensing? Yes, that 2-year delay, if it's in a related field. If you have a degree in psychology, then they're not going to count that. So it has to be in a related field. So agronomy, agriculture, basically something like that. Horticulture, whatever the case may be. But... If you do that, yes, you do not have to wait 2 years to take your license exam. So that's the only way of getting around that 2-year wait period of being basically a Furt and Squirt apprentice as a certified applicator. I just overseeded a month ago. I want to kill the nut sedge with a sedgehammer and also want to apply a pre-emergent and post-emergent. Can I do a blanket application with Tenacity, Prodiamine, and sedgehammer? Yeah, there's no problem there. If that's how you want to go about it, you definitely can. As far as using Tenacity as a post-emergent, I don't think that's a good choice. Because remember, in order to get post-emergent activity out of Tenacity, you have to do repeated applications on monthly intervals. So especially now, if you've already seeded and you're going to be applying a pre-emergent like Dimension or Dithipir or Prodiamine or whatever the case may be, I don't really see any competitive advantage you're getting out of adding Tenacity. You're going to be dealing mainly with broadleaf weeds right now, so I would use a better broadleaf weed control like a 3-way or an advanced 3-way like Escalade 2 or Momentum FX2 or Cool Power or Horsepower. Something like that would give you way more efficacy than Tenacity would, based on the types of weeds you're likely going to be seeing. Now, if you use like a bunch of straw or something when you overseed it, then you're screwed, really, because there's not going to be there's not really going to be anything you can do about that. You have to. Straw is going to create a whole different set of weed issues, and then Tenacity in and of itself isn't going to be strong enough. You would have to use something like Tenacity and Fluazafop or Tenacity and Phenoxaprop to give you better post-emergent grassy weed control. All right, real quick, I've got to take a break, and when we come back, we will continue on. You're listening to Turfs Up Radio, your industry, your station.
Every Wednesday night.
Hang on. I've said it before, but do y'all realize that Turfs Up Radio is a 24-hour, 7-day-a-week radio station? Tonight at 10 p.m. Eastern, we've got the Duck because it's Hump Night.
Every Wednesday night.
Uh-oh. Guess what day it is?
Hump Night with the Duck. 7 Pacific, 10 Eastern. Only on Turfs Up Radio.
Hump Day?
We have to put up with this? The Rock! The hard place!
You're not the top.
Did I say something wrong?
The Duck. On Turfs Up Radio. Turfs Up Radio. Your industry, your station.
Hey everybody, this is Hecubus from the Nightcap. I'm just sitting here relaxing within the vault with my friends and a tasty, tasty pint. You should stop by and listen in sometime. I'm here every Monday through Friday, 8 to 10 p.m. Eastern, live only on Turfs Up Radio. Your industry, your station.
Hey, landscape pros, are you tired of digging through rocks and roots and breaking shovels in the process? Then it's time you checked out the GeoRipper 616. It's a landscaper's dream with the Makita 6 Series 2-cycle engine producing over 4 horsepower of raw performance. The 616 digs deep in up to 16 inches of the toughest soils. Lighting, landscape, and irrigation contractors already love this improved lightweight trencher with its ability to get in and get out faster, easier, and with less ground disturbance. And you will too. This redesigned GeoRipper 616 comes with 2 heavy-duty digging chains and a whole mess of helpful extras. To learn more about the GeoRipper and how it can help you out in the field, visit georipper.com today.
What time is it, sir?
It is time for a Hump Day Lunch Factor!
What are you doing, Aaron? It's Wednesday at 5:46 in the afternoon.
Oh, well, maybe I'm having us up a little aeration of some aluminum.
What are you doing, man? What's going on today? How can we help you?
No help. I just figured I'd give a little surprise visit and give it a ring-a-ding listening.
Well, I appreciate you coming on board. It's good to have you here. What a surprise it was when I looked down and I saw A-Ran. Oh, wait, not A-Ran, just A-Ran
Nope. It's just
across the
A-Ran.
screen there.
Yep. No, it is. Just, beautiful day at work. Out there weed whacking the hills of the city.
Was it cold?
No, we're warming up now. Actually, it has been nippy here. We it's not been nipply, but it has been nippy. We were down into the 40s and 50s and maybe a low 60, but we cracked into the 70s and maybe a low 80 today.
Oh boy, yeah, it did get warm, didn't it?
Yeah, it did. It warmed up. It got hot. Sweatshirts came off. I was sweating with the long sleeve on, but that was good. But just having a good time and hanging out in the garage, listening to Turf's Up Radio, because it's your industry, it's your station.
Are we in the middle? Is this some kind of mid-season polar vortex we've got going on here?
I don't know what's going on. It's I don't like this little cold that popped down. I'm happy the heat's back. I'm getting older, dude. I don't. It's bad. The cold didn't used to bother me. Now it's bad. These chilly mornings. I've got 2-3 shirts on, sweatshirts on, and I don't like it.
No, I know that, and I don't either. I don't either. And we all know you're getting older. We all know how old you are, and we feel for you.
Yeah, well, you should. You should respect your elders. Sean does it.
Sean is he has no respect to give. It is all he dictates his own.
It's earned. He's busy. I'll tell you what. I set him up at that Shell station. He's very busy. He's got a lot of things to manage. He's got a pump, an attendant to take care of. We'll leave it at that. I mean, that's old school. Do it. Discord. He's busy.
We all feel for you, Sean, and you're in our thoughts and prayers, and we hope you'll be able to survive this.
Yeah, and get back out to Pump 5 because Lush X is empty. Get out there and fill it up. Speaking of that, I only have 6 bags of Lush X left.
Oh boy,
this is not. And Tom's gone. Tom's wiped it all out. He's on to his remainder of Carbon X that he has. He put out his lion's share, which he's still complaining that it should be his name.
Wow, you're running dry though. But it's the end of the season. You can't have too much of the season left. What are you coming up on your last application?
So we did. Well, I'm round 5. I got round 6 to go out, and then I'll have. I have a little slight stagger from people that got their heavy aerations and overseeding and got their X start in there. So those people are on a delay of their round 5. They'll get that in a few weeks to follow up after everything's kind of germinated. So we're finishing out. I mean, I still have a pallet of Lush X sitting on ice there waiting to go.
Well, I was going to say it's time to make the transition over to ammonium sulfate. Yeah, no, ammonium sulfate. Switch over to ammonium sulfate and wrap out your season with it, man. It's going to be too cold anyway.
Do we have any new products coming out that are on a ammonium sulfate?
None that I can talk about.
Oh, well, good. I like when you whisper them to me in my ear. And Aldo, I hope this is a little surprise visit for you. I hope you're having yourself a beverage because it's on you, brother. It's on you.
Well, I appreciate that. I'm not right now. I am.
No. Aldo's due. Aldo's due. he's always out there spiking the feed. So it's on him right now. I'm calling him out.
Although I hope you are enjoying an adult beverage. Well, what's he been drinking here lately? What was he? Pacificos. Hope you're enjoying a cold Pacifico and enjoying your evening.
I just had some Vizzy hard seltzer. Those are pretty good. They got some antioxidants and some vitamin C, so I feel good inside.
This sounds good.
So just rolling out the season, brother. Just trying to get it going. Doing a little overseeding and some Lush X, getting it out there, brother.
Well, I want to thank you for your continued support, and thank you for calling in, and thank you for sharing the end of your Wednesday with me.
Hey, you know what? It's a secret Wednesday. Hump day.
It is Hump Day.
Hey, and everybody, don't forget, this is Turfs Up Radio. This is your industry, your station.
Lushy, bringing it down for us. How perfect was that? We even nailed it on the.
Hell yeah!
Oh yeah, we even nailed it on the post with the oncoming music. Somebody asked about soil testing in Washington State. I'm looking here, and they don't do a Malik 3, but they do a Bray and Olsen testing, and depending on your soil pH, those may work for you. But Simply Soil Testing USA, simplysoiltesting.com. Looks like a good place to start. I would probably do their basic test plus. You can do a complete test for $32. You can do just a basic soil test for $16, which is pH, lime recommendations, potassium, phosphorus, calcium, magnesium, soluble salts, and fertilizer recommendations. You can do a basic test plus organic matter for $20. I would be curious what their organic matter test is. That may be a loss of ignition, so just something to keep in mind. And then they have a basic test plus miners for $20, a basic test plus sulfur and boron for $24, and a complete test for all of them for $32. So that one would work there. I don't see any Malik testing, but you can do some math and try and convert over your Bray or Olsen. Just understand that that's not very accurate. Like I believe Ray is going to be a bigger fan of. Ray, are you a bigger? Okay, so they're using Bray extractants for neutral and acidic soils, Olsen for alkaline soils. Let's see if I got anybody else here. There was a lot of them when I looked. Soil Test Farm Consulting, they may or may not do for you. Soiltestlab.com. Let's see. Oh yeah, they do. Garden and lawn testing. Let's see if they have information on. See their frequently asked questions here. They have no information about their test procedures or let's see if they list it under their lab specification. Quality control, accurate, precise time results, proficient, nematode analysis. They do a soil health analysis, which is, they're probably measuring respiration rates and different types of carbon levels in the soil, all kinds of fun stuff. Walla Walla. I have no idea what that is. Let's see. Here we go. They do. No, they don't. They do not list what these. They do not list their test methods. But I'm sure if you call them, that is soiltestlab.com. Also in Washington, let's see here. Maybe it's on their homepage. Did they say that? And I just glossed right over it. No, I don't see anything about Malik 3 there. Or Malik 1. See if I can find another one here. AM Test Lab. Check this out. Prices, biosolids consultation, conventional inorganics, drinking water, fertilizer, hazardous waste, inorganic microbiology, sediments, toxic characteristics, underground storage. Let's see, testing services, trace metals, inorganic compounds. Yeah, I mean, it looks like they'll test basically anything here. So this would be another one. This would be amtestlab.com. U.S. Ag Analytical Services. Kuo Testing Labs, kuotestinglabs.com. Let's see what their soil analysis comes up with. We offer a wide range of soil test packages to suit your needs. They do Olsen extractions. And you can work with Olsen. You can definitely work with Olsen, but you have to understand those are going to be, they do paste methods. I do not like paste tests. They do Bray. No problem there. So all these people doing Bray and Olsen and not Malik 3. Is that an East Coast thing? And you have to understand, the Malik 3 is kind of like a total acid digestion kind of deal, and so it's going to give you a complete and total number for all the potential phosphorus in your soil. It's not anything has anything to do with plant available phosphorus. And again, that's kind of a tricky slope when you start doing plant available phosphorus as being a legitimate thing. So I wouldn't try and get too caught up in trying to test for plant available phosphorus, because that's kind of it's a hope and a wish kind of deal. Geotest Services. What is this? This sounds like a engineering firm, to be honest. Geotechnical engineering firm. They're not going to help you. So anyway, those are a couple different places. I think that should help. Well, I want to thank everybody for tuning in today. Again, happy birthday to my son. And I want to say just real quick, thoughts and prayers to a special friend of mine who had a heart attack today, who's within the industry and is just an unbelievable human being. And he's a husband, he's a father, and he had a heart attack, and he is at the paramount of health. Active, in great condition, and you never know in his 40s. He's stable right now, but when you have a massive heart attack and emergency surgery and all that at this age, it's very, very frightening thing, and it always puts the finite reality of life into perspective. So I'm not going to share his name on air, but just understand and tell everybody that you care about, you love them, and because you never know when your time is upon you. So, all right, everybody, I love you all. We'll see you on the flip side.